Welcome to Lesson 3 in Unit 7, Patterns in the Sky. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how does the amount of daylight change during the year? In this lesson, students will make predictions about the amount of daylight in the different seasons. Students figure out that the summer has the most daylight hours and winter has the least daylight hours. Students make connections to the storyline by using data to describe how seasonal amounts of daylight change in a predictable pattern. There are several opportunities for ELA and math cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 7 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 4 to 5 days to complete. To begin the Engage portion, you'll remind students of the anchoring phenomenon and how they are working as scientists to identify patterns in the sky. You'll ask students about the patterns they've noticed in the daytime sky so far and if they can think of any patterns that happen throughout the year. You'll review the different months of the year with students using the 12 months of the year laminated cards from the MySci kit. As you ask the provided questions, you'll hold up the cards or arrange them on the whiteboard. You'll have students support you in organizing the months by season and ask which season they think has the most amount of daylight and what they wonder about daylight. You'll revisit the driving question board to add any new questions and highlight any others connected to the learning goals of this lesson by calling attention to questions about seasons and the amount of daylight. For the Explore portion, you'll use the 12 laminated cards of the months of the year and divide the class into 12 groups and give each group 1 month. You'll then pour all of the black and yellow Unifix cubes from the kit into one big pile. You'll ask each group to build a tower for their month using the numbers from the daylight hours table shown here, with the yellow cubes representing the light hours and the black cubes representing the hours of darkness. You'll have the students build their towers, then line them up starting with December to compare patterns in the total number of hours, hours of daylight, and hours of darkness each month. You'll then compare the summer to the winter months and have students record their observations as data in the Seasonal Daylight Student Journal page. For the Explain portion, you'll invite students to gather in a circle to analyze and interpret their observations around patterns of seasonal daylight. You'll use the provided questions to guide your discussion around the question, how does the amount of daylight change during the year? The goal of this class discussion is to identify patterns to compare which season has the most and the least amount of daylight. You'll have students bring their Seasonal Daylight Student Journal pages to the circle to share their observations. You'll use the discussion to add to the Unit 7 pattern chart. By the end of the discussion, students should understand that the amount of daylight changes throughout the year. Winter has the least amount of daylight and summer has the most daylight. They'll have a graph to show this pattern in their student journal. During the discussion, you'll introduce the book, The Shortest Day. You'll use the Read Aloud guide to help students gather information about the winter solstice. During the Read Aloud, you can post the solstice vocabulary card. For the Evaluate portion, you'll pass out 1 bead and 1 pipe cleaner from the kit to each student. You'll demonstrate how to thread the bead on the pipe cleaner and twist off the ends to make a bracelet. See the teacher tutorial slides for detailed instructions for this activity. For the Evaluate portion, you'll have students complete the My Birthday Story Part 1 Student Journal page to begin the unit summative task. They will tell a story about patterns in the sky on their birthday. To support student sense-making across the unit, you'll orient students back to the driving question board. You'll ask, what did we learn about how the amount of daylight changes throughout the year? And what new questions do we have? Refer to the Section 1 performance levels to summatively assess student progress for this section. Be sure to see the opportunity to attend to equity. You can have students use the self-check form to evaluate their own learning in this section. This is an instructional tool that can be used as a metacognitive practice for students to reflect on their learning express their engagement and excitement levels for the topics they have learned so far. This tool will also allow students to reflect on their science identities and community. By the end of this lesson, students will have made observations about the amount of daylight during the different times of the year, and used data to compare the amount of daylight during the different seasons. In the next section, students will investigate patterns in the nighttime sky by observing the moon. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.